happy to share what I. All right, thanks. Okay, I'm quite excited to be part of this sharing. I want to thank Agile Water senior management team for giving me this opportunity. We have a lot of items to share, to learn in this session. Okay, so there's a flyer, what we're going to learn. I will just get this covered in the agenda. Okay, before we proceed, how many of you would be interested to know a little bit about myself? Okay, so when I conduct a session, I know I have a procedure that I give a quick introduction, and then I teach exercise to people, and then I open with the opening thought, and I go to the technical content, and then I finish with a closing thought. That's my typical agenda, or the recipe what I normally conduct, right? You can. I'm going to ask you people to keep it a little bit interactive, at least in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself and share your thoughts as well. Okay. How many of you would be interested to know about myself? People who want to know about myself, just go to the chat and type, yes, I am. Something like this. How many of you are interested to know about myself? And I'm trying to find a way to make it a little bit interactive. Okay. Okay, Selva says yes. Good. Anyone else? This is again just to make sure that you're paying attention and also listening to what I say, not that you're dozed off. Okay. Okay, so yes, indeed. Okay, good. And yeah, I see Raman, thanks. Right. So this is my people who are attending my session for the first time. You will get to know how I run it. Okay. Without much ado, let me just quickly run it through a quick introduction about myself. By the way, what you see on the screen, it's me. By the way, that's not my car. It's a hotel manager car. I just took it when I went for a different workshop. All right. I'm going to cover a little bit on the professional side and also on the personal side, right? On the professional side, these are the various certificates I've completed. I worked across various clients across geo, Africans, Asians, Americans, UK people, Russians, right? So I'm kind of blessed with working with different people, got to learn many things from them. These are some of the picture, what I got to take. And this is my latest picture from one of our latest project I'm working on. And I held various roles. What you see in being engagement lead, on-site SME, change manager, project manager, delivery manager, key area manager, and still trying to be a fresher for the past 19 years. This is my running 20th year in the IT. And I like traveling. By God grace, I traveled around different places. What you see, these are the different places where I was. Again, thanks to the Almighty for making me to be a trotter. And I'm passionate about teaching and mentoring. These are the pictures what I took during my online, not online, but on the floor training session, which I used to conduct. That's something I'm kind of passionate about, conducting on the floor. I think 500 plus corporate professional I've taught. I conducted various sessions. These are taken at different time intervals. And on just moving on to the personal side, I'm a voracious reader. Currently, I'm reading 3 books in parallel. One is the Master Key System. Okay, hope you can see what I'm showing. And the next is called The One Thing. This is one of my favorite book as well. And the third is called Word Power Made Easy. So I keep myself busy reading because that's something makes me happy. Apart from that, I'm a nature admirer. I love to spend time with nature because nature is one of my teacher. These are the different picture what I took when I go and spend time with nature. I spend half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour admiring nature and God's creation. And also into gardening. These are some of the picture what you have taken, what we took in the garden, what we had, but of course now we have cleaned it up. Also into arts, I love admiring arts. So these are the pictures. Of course, these are the pictures we have in our house. And by the way, I want to give credit to my wife. My wife is in the call as well. So these are the paintings drawn. She's an artist, and more than that, she's a very good human being. I love her. And on the personal side, I love mentoring the college students. In the past 2 years, I've mentored more than 1,000 plus college students and various underprivileged college students. I used to go and conduct workshops and different aspects. So that's something I'm doing out of my passion. Also on the family side, I'm blessed with 2 priceless kids and 1 precious wife. I have a teenage daughter and then a young son, and of course, 1 precious wife. And what's next? Seriously, I'm in the pursuit of exploring more what life has to offer to me, what's in the store. That's something I'm trying to explore. That's a quick introduction about myself. I hope you got to know about myself. Okay. Now, just quickly moving on to the next part. So normally when I conduct a session, I like to teach some kind of exercise. All right. Just part of the session, I thought I would just, instead normally people conduct the ice break session, right? So I normally conduct, I try to have ice break session and also stretch break. I thought, why don't I teach some kind of a hand nerves strengthening exercise? I'm going to take two minutes for that. What you see on your left hand side, that's the anatomy of our hand. You see how complex it is? I read in research, they were conducting a research for the past 20 or 30 years, I couldn't recollect. They're trying to do research how our hands are functioning, and they were trying to replicate the exact hand function, how it's happening. Not the robot, what typically we see, right? It just is this move. But each and every hand movement, they were trying to find out, but they're not able to succeed. Let's just keep that aside. But primarily, our hands are controlled by these median, ulnar, and radial nerves. But astonishingly, there are 17,000 of nerves in your palm. 17,000 on your right hand side, 17,000 on your left hand side. Then you can imagine how complex it is. Okay, Arun, that's okay. But what are you going to say? I wanted to teach a simple exercise how you can strengthen those 17,000 nerves. Okay, 17 and 17, 34,000 nerves, which ends in your hand. You can strengthen it. Okay, it goes like this. It's so simple and neat. Okay, then clasp it firmly and just give a little bit of gentle press. Okay, gently, just use it gently to the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now relax. One more time. We're going to do 3 times. 1 is over, and this is the second time. Clasp it, press it, gently squeeze and give a little bit of pressure. I hope you're doing with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now relax. Third time, this is the last. If you're not done for the first and second time, I want you to do it. It's just for you. Okay, clasp it, firm it, and then gently press it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. This is something I learned recently, and I thought, why don't I share it with others? We spend hours and hours in front of the laptop in attending meeting. You can't just say you don't have time. You can make use of the time. Just do this exercise and you'll see wonders. Because I started to do, and I feel a little bit of relaxation in my palm. Okay. By the way, how many of you really like that? If you really like that stretch exercise, can you go into the chat and put, yes, I liked it. I loved it. It's so nice. Can I ask the participant to do that for me, please? Maybe at least 1 or 2%. If you have not done it, still it's okay. You can just say, oh, thanks, Annie. Okay, Raman, thanks. Even if you have not done, you can just be honest that I didn't do, Arun, I didn't like. Still, it's okay. Okay. Normally, when I conduct a session, I don't demand anything. I just come, say, and with your own discretion, if you feel something is worthwhile, take it. If you're not, then don't take it. Okay, good. Thanks, Raman and Annie, for your response. Now we can quickly get into the next section of the opening thought. Are we good on time? Yes. Opening thoughts. So this is a typical agenda of the recipe, what I normally do, right? I wanted to just bring in more value when I conduct a session, because this 1 hour what you're spending here, it's really important for you and also for me. For you, you learn something. For me, how I can be a good teacher to teach something, right? Okay, so the opening thought. So normally when I conduct the opening thought, I would just pick up a concept and I try to explain. But in this session, we're going to learn about stakeholder management. Okay, then I thought, let me do something different by bringing up some kind of a management. All right. Oh, yeah. I want a volunteer who can just read what you see. Yeah, if you are not speaking, may I request you if you can put yourself on the mute? Thanks for your understanding. May I request a volunteer who can just read what you see on your left-hand side? By the way, I would need 3 volunteers because I have 3 caricature, 3 jokes, 3 thoughts. Volunteer, please. And you want to go now? Okay, Raman, you want to go now?
Yeah, I'll just read. Oh,
Yeah.
That's just Carl. Preparing.
I hope the people on the call who can correlate that. Okay, Raman, thanks again. I would need definitely another volunteer. This is just to make it a little bit interactive, friends. Another volunteer, please. So do you want to go? Arpana, you want to go?
Problem solver, meet the problems.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. By the way, that's my daughter. Here, read the problems as stakeholder, right? When you run into a stakeholder management meeting or other the stakeholder discussion, right? They're going to come, everyone going to come with their own problems, right? You as a person, you as a project manager, you as a scrum master, you as a person who's leading that objective, right? You got to handle all the problems. Okay, that's a simple representation of this picture. Now, going to the third one, I would need one more volunteer. Selva, would you like to go for it? Any other volunteer? Okay, no problem. Then I would go. As boss, change is good, but not when the customer changes their mind about what they want every time we meet with them. Okay, how many of you agree with this? This is a very true statement, right? Every time you meet with a customer, they're going to change their mind. They're going to come up with a different CR. They're going to say, hey, you know what? This is not something I want something else, right? Make sure you manage the recommends properly, okay, through CR, through the different process, right? So I thought I would just open up. So what are the 3 different thoughts? One is management meetings are, okay, I see a chat. Changes the only thing which is constant. Raman, that's absolutely very true. Okay, thanks for being interactive. Feel free to put your chat, put your comments in the chat. Okay, so first one is for any other stakeholder management meeting, you got to prepare nicely. Yesterday, I ran a stakeholder management meeting, close to 20 of them. In fact, there were 2 directors. I spent my Thursday evening, roughly 2 to 3 hours just for the meeting. Do your preparation well when it comes to stakeholder management. Okay. Next is don't treat them as problems. Treat them as the requirements, how you can handle it. Okay. Third, stakeholders always have their own changes, keep coming now and then. How you manage it, right? That's what make a difference. So those are the 3 opening thoughts I would like to share before we get into the actual session. Are we good on time? Perfect. We are good on time. Don't worry, friends. I see to that to wrap my session on time. Okay. In fact, I've just done a little bit of practice so that your time is utilized properly. Okay, I hope you can see my screen, and I see just to take a stock. Okay, Arpana, Annie. Okay, Jaskirat. Okay, Jaskirat. I think you have attended one of my earlier session. Thanks for joining again. And I see Raman, Silva, Solomon. Okay, hey Solomon, thanks for joining. And then SV. Okay, good. We can get started with the core content, right? One thing I wanted to promise you is that the next 20-30 minutes, what you're going to spend here with me, some of things you might be already knowing, but my intention is to teach some of the tools when it comes to stakeholder management on the various different stages, right? I try to come up with a different approach of drawing a parallel between the professional and also the personal so that you'll be able to remember those tools in your real life. Okay, cool. What we got on the store today in terms of the agenda? To start off with, I'm going to share what's the simple definition of a stakeholder. And then I would slightly share about the SPICE stakeholder model. The third and the fourth point are the core content, which is nothing but the 4 steps in stakeholder management. One is the identify, plan, manage, and monitor. how do you do all these 4 by applying the respective tools? And fourth is kind of slightly, I just applied a little bit of creativity and drawing a parallel of the tools, what I've used on the professional front and also on the personally side, right? And then fifth, we're going to wrap up the session with a closing thought. Okay, that's pretty much what we have in the store. Before we proceed, this is really, really important. You'll have 2 sets of participants in any meeting. One is somebody thinks, oh, you know what? This is something I already know. The cup is full. The next set of participants are the cup is upside down. Oh, no, this is not for me. This is something which I don't want to know. This is something I don't want to learn. I don't know under which category you are in. You're thinking stakeholder management, I've already aced it. And you think, no, this is not for me. I thought, okay, let's just be part of the session and just see what's in the store. No, I want you to be in this stage. Be half full and half empty. Even if you know, just bend your head and drop something and create some space so that what I'm going to share, at least you will receive it. Okay? Very nice. Now, again, I would need a volunteer who can read this aloud for me. We proceed. Volunteer, please. Okay, when I say volunteer, this is what I said. I would like to keep my session interactive. Feel free to unmute yourself and then read out. Otherwise, I don't like to just do a news reading job. This is what the content, okay, I just puke and then I go, no. I want a little bit of interaction. Volunteer, please. Sid, you wanted to read? You want to go? Sid, Raman, Annie, anyone else? Shadri, you want to go?
Okay. Anyone who has a bit of stake, like input, interest, and influence on the objective and final outcome of a specific endeavor, they are known as stakeholders.
Okay. Does it making sense? Because this is something I tried to put to simple terms. This is what it is, right? Anyone has some kind of input, some kind of interest, and some kind of influence. They're called as stakeholder. Towards what? The common objective, a specific endeavor. Endeavor is nothing but the act what you do, right? They're called as stakeholders. That's a simple definition of a stakeholder. Now, let's just quickly touch base on the SPICE stakeholder model. I don't know how many of you came across the SPICE stakeholder model. This is a little bit technical, just 2-3 slides going to be a little bit technical, and then I would just jump into the core content on the various stages, right? The SPICE stands for society, partners, investor, customer, and employees. You may say the nature of the project currently you're working, hey, Arun, you know what? That does not have investors. That does not have partners. That does not have society. But trust me, invariably, something or other, these components, right? Whether the society, partners, investor, customer, employee, every other aspects are kind of interlaced in the projects, what you do. Maybe it is not visible, but it is there. Regardless, I have happened to work on all the SPICE model of projects where there was a project where it just went and affected the society. When I say affected, it just impacted the society. You can think of an Aadhaar card project, right? That's impacted the society. So that's a society nature project. Partners, you'll have third-party partners, you will have third-party vendors, you will have different subsystems team or other the external stakeholders, right? So they are the partners. I worked in one of the projects where on the investment banking project, they had a lot of investor and there should be a communication has to go to the investor. Hey, you know what? This is something we are rolling out. Be aware of it. And customer, of course, any project we implement work, there is a customer to consume that project. Otherwise, the project does not exist. An employee, you as a person, you as a entity, you interact with a respective project manager, right? You communicate. So that's a simple SPICE model. I wanted to share across. Okay, I see a chat. Is it modified CSPO supply input? Yes, slightly. Yes, Raman, you're right. It's a slightly modified version of it, but this is something I came across. I felt it's so appropriate. Yeah, feel free to just put it right in the chat. That way I also can take a look and it would be helpful for me to learn. Okay, moving on to the next. The different types of stakeholders. When you execute any project, invariably you'll try to find these 5 different of people, stakeholders. One is somebody who's totally unaware. Just excuse me. Sorry for that. somebody who's totally unaware of the project. What, oh, is it really happening? Oh, you know what? I'm really working on that project very hard. But somebody will just really not aware of the project. And somebody will have resistance to that project. Oh, you know what? If these guys are going to implement, my job is at stake, right? So they have some kind of a resistant. And there are third set of people, they're neutral with it. Okay, whatever you guys are doing, okay, let it go, let it happen. And the fourth type of stakeholders are supportive. They are supportive enough in telling, oh, no, this is good. Is there anything I can help you? And the fifth one are the one who has an interest and also having influence. They are the people who leads the project. Of my all this the past 20 years of working in the IT, various project, various stakeholders, as I showed, I saw all these 5 different types of stakeholders. And there are ways to handle different people. There is a chart which is not part of today's learning, but that's somebody who has a low interest, and then between the interest and the influence. That's something I've not covered due to because my intention is to teach only on the tools. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. We'll spend a couple of minutes here. This is something I took from the PMBOK. Okay, by the way, is there anybody done a PMP certification in the audience? Anyone has PMP? Even if you don't have, still you can just type, yeah, I don't. Volunteer, because it just makes sense if I could hear the response. The reason is because my session, it's kind of aligned with the tools, what is used when it comes to the stakeholder management. Anybody has? Okay, you got training, but not certified. Okay, Raman. So you took the 35 hours PDUs training, Raman? Okay, Silva say no. Okay, that's fine. Not a problem. Yeah, if you have it, then you'll be able to understand, you'll be able to correlate it, but even if you don't have, that's fine. So this is the PMBOK. PMBOK is, it's the governing body, right? I mean, it's all the PMP, which they offer. They have different 12 to 13 different framework. And under that, one of the framework is the project stakeholder management overview. In that, we have this 4 different stage. By the way, from here, the next 15, 20 minutes is going to be a little bit technical, because the nature of the session itself technical. So they have these 4 different stages, and they teach about, they share about this, what are the inputs you need to follow, and what are the TNT tools and technique, and what would be the output, right? Or in the identification process, in the planning process, in the managing process, and in the monitoring process. So 4 different stages, right? I promise I'm not going to bore you guys running through each and every input. This is what output. No, absolutely no. In this session, I thought about just to bring some kind of value addition, right? I thought I'll just pick some of the tools and techniques, because that's something you can apply it. In my session, I see to that to teach the tools and technique rather than the theory part. If you have a pen and paper, you can just make some notes. Feel free to take screenshot as well. Okay, I'll be covering on the different tools and techniques on the 4 different stages. One is professionally. Just to bring a little bit of understanding, I'm going to share something on how I applied that concept in the personally aspect as well. Okay, is it a good deal, guys? Okay. All right, moving on to the next slide. Here we go. Again, for simplicity purpose, I've just thought and just put this simple 4 boxes and the tools and techniques. If you think the previous slide was a little bit not able to interpret, this is what it is. The identify a process, you will do the data gathering of the stakeholders, and then you apply expert judgment. And in the plan process, you do the data analysis of the data what you have gathered. You do analysis, and then you make a decision. And in the managed process, you communicate with your stakeholders regularly. Okay, and then you set the ground rules as well. And in the monitor phase, you apply your interpersonal skills, and also you'll have regular meeting. This is something I'm not sharing just like that, but this as per the PMBOK. But for this today's session, I'm going to teach these 8 different tools and techniques, how I applied professionally and how I applied personally. Okay. All right. With that, can get started with the first step process. Excuse me, sorry. So the first process is nothing but the identifying the stakeholders, right? Professionally, personally, the first tool is gather as much as data about the project I used to gather. You might be asking, Arun, you're already in the project, you should be already knowing. And why is that you have to gather the data? I'm referring if you're working in a greenfield project, if you're from the inception of a project, it's your duty as a PM, as a delivery manager, as a account manager, however running it, right? It's your duty to gather as much as data. Okay, what sort of role this stakeholder is doing? What sort of influence this person has? Does this person really have a good interest toward the project success? That's really important. That's what exactly I'm doing in my current assignment, where I came up with all the data of my stakeholders. The next is you will use your expert judgment. Arun, that seems to be something really big. What is it you're going to do by applying expert judgment on the stakeholder? I'm not sure how many of you know about the OPA. By the way, I'm a PMP certified project manager. I've done that 11 years back in 2012 when I was in the US. During that time, I took my PMP exam by walking in the New York downtown street. I still remember. So this OPA stands for Organizational Process Hazard. You refer to your OPA and then you arrive at some kind of expert judgment. Still, to give better clarity, expert judgment is, say, assume you have a director, you have someone as a sponsor. How this director has to be handled, how the project sponsor has to be handled, how the product owner needs to be handled, right? You need to arrive at some kind of expert judgment, because just like that, you can't go and reach to a director level, setting up a meeting with them, right? You get what I'm trying to say? So you need to apply what is this here. If you have an OPA, organization processes that, you can refer to it. If not, you can use your own expert judgment based on the previous project experience. Now, moving on to the personal side, right? I'm going to teach or rather share how I apply these tools in my personal life. You see here what I did when it comes to building my dream house. Okay, just to draw a parallel, just draw analogy, that way you will be able to connect the logical dots. In 2013, I started my house construction project. As part of that, as the data gathering, right? So I used to go and collect various data about various mason, the guy who construct or build the house, right? I used to go to a different area, try to find out what the masons are there, who are good. So I tried to collect as much as data about various masons. That's the first tools. Second, expert judgment. You may not be able to come to conclusion how this mason is going to the final outcome of it, right? So what I did, I went and met the house owners where that particular mason had already completed or rather finished the house. I go and talk to them. I went and talked to them. Hey, how is this person? It's just a more of arriving at some kind of a judgment, right? If you think that expert seems to be a big word, you can drop the word expert, but more of arriving at some kind of a judgment. I went and visited some of the house and I tried talking to them. How's this guy? Is he good? What are his approach? So I try to I try to use this tool of using expert judgment. Clear? Now, moving on to the next stage, which is nothing but the planning. The two tools, what you can use in the planning phase is, the first stage, you have collected the data. With that, are you going to brood on it? No. You need to analyze the collected data, right? About the rules, their reporting, their structure, what time they work, their availability, what are the influence. So you analyze the data. First, you collect all this. Okay, this person has some stake, this person, this person, this person. And then the next stage, when it comes to the planning, you will analyze those data. Okay. And after analyzing the data, what you do, you make a decision-making process. Why you have to do, based on the analyzed data, you have to apply the decision-making to update your RAISY chart. Okay, if someone is not aware of the RAISY chart, it's responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed to those respective stakeholders you how you have to handle them. Because I worked in creating a RAISY chart, and every month, every once in 2 months, I go and take a look at it. If there is any change in their role, change in their leadership level, I make that updated and I just inform to them. And based on that RAISY, I see to that to send a needed communication that I'll cover in the third and the fourth step. That's what, those are the two tools. One is analyzing the data. The next is decision making. Okay. Now, how did I apply that in the personal aspect, right? After analyzing, getting the data of different Mason, okay, this guy seems to be has good knowledge. This guy has a good thinking. This guy comes with an idea. Okay. I've collected the data, then I try to analyze. Okay, this person is so-and-so. This person seems to be from a far place. Probably you'll have to spend more time in reaching the construction site. I've analyzed all the data. Then I've applied the second tool called decision making, and I finalized the Mason. That's what I literally done by applying the first and the second. Guys, are you with me up until now? People who are with me, okay, I see Azit joined. People are with me.
Yes,
can I
we
request?
are.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Annie. I want all the participants go to the chat and type "I am with you, Arun," something like this. You can put in the chat. I'm with you. I want the participant just go and type that. Just a small request. Just okay, Raman. Thank you for that. Just to make sure that you're with me, whether my teaching is adding some value to you people. Okay. Can I have one more volunteer? Okay. I'm with you. Wow, I like your thinking, man. This is fantastic. I will make a note of this. And the next session. Yeah. IWI. That's cool. Okay, one more volunteer, please. Okay. All right. Now, Arun, this is the theory part, but is there a way where you can show us if, okay, Annie, thank you. Okay, Solomon, mom's thanks. All righty. Okay, good. You might be saying, Arun, the theory part is fine. What you applied the first step and second step, you collected the data, and then you have used the expert judgment, and then the next you analyze the data, and then you apply the decision making. Is there something that can you show on the right hand side, right, on you in terms of the dream house? Okay, if you're thinking like that, here we go. So this is what, after applying the first step and the second step, I've identified the Mason. So he's the Mason. His name is Raji. He goes by the name Raji. I call him Raj Anna. He's a Mason. After applying the two steps, those 4 tools. By the way, this is me. It was shot 10 years back. All right. So I saw to that to make it a little bit interactive. In my session, I see to that to bring up some kind of a picture. To make it a little bit interactive, and also people will be able to understand and connect the dots logically. Oh, okay. To make up your learning firm. Okay. So this is what I've done. The Mason was identified after applying those 4 steps. Arun, what's next? Third is what? Managing, right? Managing, it's definitely a tiresome process. Why? I started my session with one of the picture where the problems, right? Every other stakeholders were making hue and cry. Everybody's shouting. Do you think that it's easy to manage the stakeholders? Can I have a volunteer? Maybe can someone unmute and say a real life example? Is it easy? No, it's really tough. Or rather, somebody can somebody say that, yeah, it's easy. I'm just managing my stakeholder very easily. Is there anyone like that? Can I have a volunteer? Or you can just say, no, absolutely no. It's not possible. Volunteer? Anyone wants to go?
Hi, I'm Raman. I did a small painting job. I followed all the steps, almost all, but it's not so easy. Like, it's a small job, but it still was difficult. I have to personally supervise the painting and all.
Correct. Yeah. So it's not easy. Raman, what you said is on the personal side, in the sense the printing job, what you have done. But think about when it comes to the real professional job. in your real-time experience. I mean, your real life project, right? I mean, your real-time projects where you're really working with your Fortune 500 customer. Yesterday, I ran a meeting. I was having 20 different stakeholders in the meeting, and I was the guy who's just totally spearheading, and every other stakeholder has a different challenges. Managing is not that easy. But Arun, if you say managing is not easy, how do we make it easy? All right, I'm going to teach two different tools. One is about a regular communication. Okay. You got to keep all your involved stakeholders, communicate with them. There are two types of communication. One is called push communication and one is called pull communication. I'm not going in detail about that. But you got to exercise push communication on certain time, and you got to do pull communication. Push is just for information, and pull is you make somebody to work on it. That's FYA, action. Okay. You got to, as a person managing the project, managing the endeavor, you got to keep regularly communicate with your stakeholders. That's really, really important. If you don't do, the final outcome, it's going to be a disaster. The next tool, when it comes to managing, it's really important to set the ground rules. I normally set the ground rules with my stakeholders. When I say ground rules, it's all about, say, for example, there is a product owner, there is a business SME. I set the ground rule in terms of, okay, they have to provide the recommend on so-and-so time. They need to render their approval on so-and-so time. They need to verify it, certain things on so-and-so time. Those are the ground rules. If you don't set the ground rules, your stakeholders are not going to listen to you. At the same time, you're not boss to them. You're here as a project manager. You're doing a role as in your own capacity to get things done. If you don't set the ground rule, they are going to work in their own style. That's not good. It's clear? Now moving on to the personal friend, how did I apply these two, right? The regular communication and the ground rules. Every day I used to talk to all the teams involved, be it mason, electrician, plumber, painter, comp. I used to call them, particularly on one stage, if there are 4 or 5 different teams are working, I used to talk to them every day and make sure what they've done. It's simple agile method, right? What they've done, what they're going to do. Is there any impediment? It's a simple, those 3 questions is what I ask them invariably in a slightly in a different way. Is ground rules? Yeah, absolutely, Azad. Absolutely, yes. Ground rules is nothing but a working agreement. You normally have some kind of a working agreement, ways of working, right? You run it. In fact, on one of the other projects, I was having a separate meeting, 1-hour meeting, ways of working with the vendor team, with the stakeholders. This is how we are going to work. If anyone has any concern, get the buy-in documented, then you're good. Okay, Azad, thanks for that question. Right, on the communication, so I used to talk to them with all the team every day and then listen to them and see if there's anything that I can do to get things sorted out. Next part, the ground rule. In the professional, in the corporate environment, setting ground rule is easy, I would say, but not when it comes to the personal, when you execute any project under personally, right? Because they're not going to listen to you. They don't have any, though they are stakeholders, but they're not abide with that. They're not obliged to listen to what you say, isn't it? Right? But I make sure that I set the ground rule with each and every, even there is a tiles person, if there is a mason, I go and tell you for each and every category of work, I set them. For example, when it comes to brick, if they have to place a small brick, I mean the off length of a brick, the ground rule is they're not supposed to take one full brick and break it off and keep it. They have to find and look out for the already broken bricks, and they have to use it. That way, this one particular brick is saved. That's one simple example of a ground rule. And I've given an instruction to the lady worker to have a full brick and also the broken brick next to the mason. That would make the mason life easier. How to delegate and fix accountability. Okay, so that's a different topic altogether, delegating and fixing accountability. It's never-ending challenge, Raman. Maybe we should talk about that later. I'll take that as a question. I'll see that to cover in the Q&A. Are we good on time? Yes, we are good on time. I will have a last 5 minutes or so for the Q&A. We'll see to that to get it covered. Okay. So this is how I've done the ground rules. And you wanted to see the picture of how I've implemented the regular communication, the ground rule. Anybody interested? Okay, here we go. So this is what it is. So this is a communication, right? This is with my Mason, with the Mason I used to communicate. Hey, you know what are you doing? This is fine. Before I go to work, I go and visit, talk to them, try to spend time. If there is, you see, it was taken at 10:45, or rather on that day, maybe I just went, I finished the work, I came back to the site, talk to them, communicate. So that's how I used to handle. So that's on the communication part. And the next is the ground rule. So whatever the work they're doing, I set the ground rule. You know what? Probably you have to see if whatever you're going to chip, it's not going to create any crack, and make sure that there is no any electrical pipeline. So that's kind of a ground rule. And then you have the safety measures. I saw to that to set the ground rules in every other aspect I could. Okay. Now moving on to the fourth step, which is nothing but the monitoring. Monitoring is all the more difficult than the managing. Why? Because you got to monitor, you got to take a needed action to correct it. They call it as MNC, monitoring and control in the project management execution parlance. You got to monitor and you got to take control, but it's difficult when you have to bring in the control, because generally, professionally, personally, people, they have inhibition to resist if you're going to put some control measure, isn't it? When they have resistance, how you can get that sorted out? That's where this TT, tools and technique, comes called interpersonal skill. You need to really exhibit excellent, if not excellent, at least relatively good interpersonal skill in order to do the monitoring. I'm relatively good in interpersonal skill. That's something I get as a compliment. So for example, simple, when last week, one of my clients said that he has some windows to fix. So he took a permission. And after 2 or 3 days, I just checked with him. Hey, hi, is the window fixing work is done? And he was kind of taken aback. Oh, you remember that? Oh, thanks for your concern. Thanks for checking. So that's a level of interpersonal you need to interest between two parties, right? Personal is to some extent, you need to build some rapport. And there are many other examples I could give. One of another client, she was blessed with a granddaughter, and after 2, 3, and she said her granddaughter name after meeting 1 month or so, I just remember, I got remember of a granddaughter name, and I asked, how is she? And she was kind of shocked. You remember your granddaughter name? Yeah, I know, you said on that day. So that's a level of interpersonal skill you need to exhibit. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult when it comes to monitoring. Okay, what's the next tool? You got to have regular meetings. That's where you do your monitor and the controlling comes. Without a regular meeting, it will be very, very difficult to do the stakeholder engagement. That's on the professional side. Moving on to the personal. Literally, I've used my interpersonal skill in knowing all my workers, a family, from where are they from, how long it would take, and I try to remember which standard the kids are studying, and then is there any emergency in their house. I saw to that they feel that I'm kind of connected with them. They started to feel and treat that I'm one among them. Interpersonal skill is really, really important. That makes somebody to feel and think that they are part of them. I've used that, and it really helped. For example, somebody wants to go for a visit a temple. He wants to take a leave. Okay, that's fine. And then I just give some cash. Have this for your expense. That's something he did not expect out of the labor, the wage what he gets. Okay, and then there is something of kids are not able to pay the fees. Okay, that's fine. You better take care of this. Just arranging some finance. So that kind of interpersonal skill you need to exhibit. And once somebody has a fall and then he has injured, I mean, in the other place, I mean, he got injured on his leg and he wants to take care of medical expense. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I contact the doctor and then arrange. So that kind of interpersonal skill you need to exhibit. Only then you will be able to bring them into control, because that's a rapport you're building. Okay. This is the last tools and technique, which is nothing but the regular meetings. Every Saturday, I used to have meetings 10, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour meetings with all the stakeholders, with all my team, right? This is on the professional side as well, right? I have my days goes in conducting various meetings with different stakeholders, doing this MNC, monitor and control. Okay, this is done, this is reviewed, this is approved, the data is in place. We got the sign off. That's on the professional side. On the personal side, have a meeting with them, try to kind of connect with them, try to talk to them, try understanding what the next they're going to do. Okay, Arun, that's fine. That's the theory part. Is there anything that you can show us? Absolutely. So this is what the monitoring control when it comes to, right? You go and review the work, what they're doing, what your stakeholder is doing, what your vendor is doing. Even the night I go, just take a look, if things are working fine, things are in place. Okay, so that's your, on your right hand side, if you see, right, you got to inspect their work. Why? Only when you inspect, you'll be able to bring in the monitoring and also the controlling. If you don't inspect, there's no way where you can do your monitoring and control. Make sense? Okay. And how about the meetings, Arun? Here we go. So this is what, so this is how I just got reminded while I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking, oh, there was a picture I took with all the stakeholders on that one fine day where I had a meeting with all of them. So this is what I used to, the example of a stakeholder meetings, right? There is a carpenter, there is a supplier, there is a vendor, there's a structural engineer, there's a mason, there's a local politician. So I used to have meetings with them on Saturday. Okay, in the morning, in the afternoon, or when they call, I call them. So it goes like that. So this is what I've done. I've tried applying all the 4 different steps. This is just a quick summary and a recap. Of course, we are in the fag end of completion. Just to quickly summarize, and the identity, you do the data gathering and you apply your expert judgment. In the plan, you do the analysis of the data and then you make a decision. The manage, you regularly communicate with them and set the ground rule. The monitor, you exhibit your interpersonal skills and have regular meetings with them. Okay. All right, Arun, theory part is fine. But you know what? Finally, what matters? A result is what really matters. You talked about the project. I can't really show because it's all in the production. It's all executing and I can't really show. But I thought, okay, why don't I show the result, right? The final result when it comes to the personally. The final result is what? My dream house. Anyone wants to take a look at my house? The picture of it? I need a volunteer, maybe just 1 or 2 person. Feel free to type in, yes, I would like to see. Volunteer, please. I need to just have some water. Excuse me. There you go. Okay. If a volunteer would say yes. So this is what it is, friends. This is the final outcome is what really matters, friends. Whether it's life or the job. Your final objective, your final product, your final goal, it's what really matters. People don't care the effort, what you, I mean, people, they know the effort, what they put, but finally at the end of the day, be the project success, it's live, customers using the application, there are no issue, business user able to execute it. That's what really matters. I've executed dozens and dozens of projects in my 20 years of IT experience. I can't show all of that, but I thought at least I will just show this is the final outcome. And by the way, this is this is my house where I live with my family. The beauty is that I've not hired any architect or any design engineer. Everything, whatever you see, I've designed all by myself. And I applied some of the things what I've learned from the professional, and then I try to apply that. I see a comment. Wow. Okay, Roman, thanks for the compliment. Okay, so this is I'm not here to boast this, but my intention is finally the result is what matters. Focus on the final outcome and the final result. Okay, good. Quick summary. Okay, closing thought. Remember, stakeholder management, it's an art, by the way. Okay, it takes time to learn any art. So spend enough time to learn that art. Quick recap. We learned about the definition of stakeholder. We got to learn about the SPICE stakeholder model. We learned about the 4 different steps and the tools what we have used professionally and personally. And then the closing thought. Closing thought is nothing but stakeholder management is an art. Are we good on time? Yes, we are good on time with 5 minutes for the Q&A. With that, I would like to thank all the participants who took time to be part of this learning. Okay, now we can open up for the Q&A. Sharvi, you would like to just facilitate the Q&A? Or the participants, anyone has a question, feel free to ask me. We can just spend the remaining 5 minutes. And on sharp 8:30 p.m. IST, and also 11 AM EST we can finish up. Okay, Anita. Okay, thanks for the compliment. And before you leave, if you are in a rush, if you're in a hurry, if you don't have any question, you feel free to drop. But before you do, just a simple humble request. If you can type, what was your learning today? Okay, it could be a learning. It could be something interesting. You can give me a compliment as well. You can just say, I did not like this presentation at all. You literally wasted my 1 hour, even if it is so. Feel free to type that. I would like to learn it and I will improvise it. Okay, feel free to put your comments before you planning and execution is a key. That's right, Raman, absolutely. I spend a lot of time in planning when it comes to project and also the other things what I do. When your planning is good, execution won't take much time, or rather it would become much easier. Okay, feel free to put your question in the chat or the comments and compliments, suggestions. I would be love to listen to it. I mean, to read it. Okay, good. We have 10 of them. I say Jerome. Okay, Jerome, Arake, thanks for joining. Raman, Selva, Solomon. I see Aroke. Okay, Aroke, thanks for joining. Sorry, I couldn't wish you when you joined. I was in the presenting mode. And thank you. Yeah, you were. Sid was there, and you said that he would drop off. That's fine. Any other question from anyone I can take? Okay. I see. Wonderful session. Azit, thanks for the compliment. Wonderful session. Planning and execution. I learned how well to manage stakeholder. Thank you, Annie. You made my day. That's my real intention. Okay. Great job, Daddy. Love you. Okay, that's my daughter. Thank you, Arpana, for that compliment. Yeah, it's all, by the way, my daughter and my family members are there in this session. I just requested them to be part of this learning. That way they can tell me, Dad, in this place, you were not done well. You can improvise. I wish I could just hear out that from them. Thanks. Thanks, my sweet little girl working on the dream. I learned around. Okay, my mom's thanks for that. Well delivered. Thank you, Annie, for that compliment. Yes, I took time in understanding the concept, try to do a little bit of creativity in connecting personally, professionally, trying to come up with the pictures so that it's kind of delivered well. Still, I know there are a few other things which I need to work, but I will work it up I will just see to that to get it corrected. The next section. 1 more minute to go. Any other questions, comments, suggestion from others? If anyone wants to unmute and just speak to me, just to say thanks, or rather just to say goodbye, at least.
Thanks a lot.
Kalpana, you want? Sorry?
Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
You learned something today, Moms?
Yeah. I
Thank
learned
you.
about the stakeholder. Thank you for your wonderful thoughts and sharing with us.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mitchell.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you
Yeah, by
very
the way, that's
much. Yeah.